Welcome to the Cardboard Crash Course. My name's Ethan, and today we're going to teach you how to play Between Two Castles, Essential Edition. This is the original game of Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and combined with its Secrets and Sorays expansion. This is the only version of the game that's currently under publication by Stonemaier Games, so this will most likely be the version that you pick up. This was designed by Ben Rosset and Matthew O'Malley, and was provided by Stonemaier Games as a review copy to give an unbiased instructional video to you on how to play. So without further ado, let's learn setup and how to play Between Two Castles. What's especially important in Between Two Castles that I don't find important in most games is your seating arrangement. Before setting up the game, have all players find their seats as equidistant from each other as possible. Round tables are definitely better for this than my rectangular table here. Setup and gameplay are made very simple due to the 3 included game trays that come with your Essential Edition. The red plastic tray holds the tiles we'll need for the beginning of Setup Now. These tiles, which are double the width of all other tiles in the game, are called Throne Room tiles. You'll randomly shuffle these and then choose 1 per player, giving those out to the players randomly. Each of those players that receive one of these is going to place it between them and the player on their left. Place unused throne rooms back in the red game tray, and then take one of these castle tokens out of each of the spaces in the game tray per player, and place one of these tokens beside each of the throne rooms in play. Find the 8 reference cards that remind players on how to play and score for the game, and give 1 to each player, placing the unused ones back in the game box. They will not be used this game. The small yellow game tray should house the double-sided fountain, tower, and grand foyer tiles. It will also include the 4 different types of royal attendants in these 4 spaces here. Finally, face down and shuffled, it will include the bonus cards. The red tray holds many stacks of 9 tiles each, with the castle tokens we found earlier in between them. The throne room tiles that we used for setup also remain in here for the remainder of the game. On top of the stacks of 9 tiles that we'll constantly be drawing from throughout the game, there's also a couple deeper wells for 13 tiles each. These deeper wells are not meant to be drawn from normally and instead are used for any extra tiles that are drawn during the game. Most players, most of the time, will be taking these full stacks of 9. The purple game tray is an extension of the red one and includes a couple stacks of 9 tiles, as well as 3 more extra wells of 13 each. On top of the stacks, the ballroom tiles, as well as the room type tokens, also have their home in this purple tray. Gather these trays, ensuring that each of them have the correct type and amounts of each tile, and place them in the middle of the table in easy access of all players. With setup complete, we're ready to start learning how to play Between Two Castles. During this game, you'll play through 2 rounds. Each round will consist of you drawing 9 tiles at a time and keeping 2. You're going to be paying attention to each castle on either side of you, and each player will be doing the same. So for example, the player on your left is sharing your left castle, and the player on your right is sharing your right castle. The tiles drawn during the game are rooms and locations for the castle. Some can be placed on ground level, some can be placed above that, and others still can be placed underneath ground level in a sort of basement. You'll work with those players to use those tiles to score a certain amount of points for the end of the game per castle. Depending on how well you work with the person on your left and the person on your right to build your 2 castle using all these different tile types will determine your score for the game. Now, before we look at each of those different tile types, let's go through the round structure now. At the very start of the first round, each player will draw an entire stack of 9 tiles. The easiest way to do this is to press on one side of that stack and use the included castle well to draw the entire stack at once, keeping all of these tiles secret from all other players and adding them to your hand. You'll secretly look at your hand of all 9 tiles now, getting no strategic advice from any other player in the game. Choosing 2 of them of your choice, you'll place those 2 face down in front of you. You'll then place the rest of the 7 unchosen tiles underneath the castle token to your left, signaling to all players that you're ready to move on to the next step. Once every player has placed tiles underneath the castle token to their left, finalizing their choice, each player will simultaneously reveal the 2 tiles that they've chosen to keep. Now this is where the strategic discussion in the game begins. By the end of this turn, you're going to have to place one of these tiles that you've chosen into the castle on your left and one in the castle on your right. This is determined by not only you, but the player that you're partnering with for that castle. Remember, you're sharing the castle on your left with the player on your left, and the castle on your right with the player on your right. You do not get ultimate control. You have to partner with those players and determine with them 50-50 on where your tiles must go. You're sharing those castles with those players, and remember, their attention is being torn with the players on the other side of them as well. So there's going to be quite a bit of overlapping discussion here. I'll go through legal room placement in just a moment, but remember, as soon as you've determined with your partners where those tiles are going, those tiles are set in place for the rest of the game and cannot move. If, in very rare circumstances, your discussion leads to you and your partner both not wanting to place your tile until you see where the other one places theirs, the oldest player must place theirs first. Keep in mind this is just a failsafe and goes against the designer's original spirit of the game, because you should have a partnership with those players, not a rivalry. After all of the 2 tiles each are placed by all players, it's now time to repeat. If there's more than one tile underneath the tile token to your right, take all of those tiles underneath that token and add them to your hand. Just like before, we'll take secretly 2 of these tiles and place them face down in front of us, leaving the rest to be placed underneath the castle token to our left. The entire process of placing tiles will be repeated until you look to your right and there's only one tile underneath the castle token on your right. If that's ever the case, which will be at the end of each of the 2 rounds, take that single tile token and discard it out of the game, starting the new round. This second round follows the exact same pattern as the first round, where you choose 9 tiles at the beginning and continuously pass them around 2 by 2 until there's one remaining that you discard. The only exception is, to end each of your choosing phases, you'll place them under the castle to your right instead of your left. And when picking up in between turns, you'll choose from the tiles underneath the castle token on your left and add them to your hand. Essentially meaning that the second round goes counterclockwise, where the first round went clockwise. Let's look now at legal tile placement and what each of the tiles do. When placing a tile, it's good practice to push the entire stack of extra tiles off to the side to leave room. As you build your castle, remember this. Each castle is a side view. So essentially, imagine we're looking through the side window towards the throne room. Not from below, not from above, but from the side. So as we place our castle down to the table, up is the direction above that room, down is the direction below, and left and right are each of the directions from side to side. That means that any tiles that are placed above ground level must be supported by a room below. So we cannot place this amidst the plants tile here, as there is nothing to support it. We could place it off to the right side, or the left side, or we could place it above the throne room in any of these 2 spaces. There is no limit to a width of a castle, so a castle can continuously grow off to the side. In the same way, there's no limit to the height of a castle, as long as each of those tiles are placed legally with a tile supporting them from below it. When placing a tile, you want to always place the tile the same direction as all the other tiles that already exist, so not perpendicular like I have here. This ensures that all players that are building the castle together have an equal chance of understanding the rules on each of the rooms. Each tile must always be placed orthogonally adjacent to a tile already existing in that castle. So even though this bath tile can be placed down below a castle underneath ground level, you cannot place it diagonal to a tile that already exists. You have to place it underneath the castle orthogonally. There are also ground level restrictions for different tiles in the game. Food, living, utility, outdoor, sleeping, and activity rooms all need to be on ground level or above. And if they're above, remember that they have to be supported by a tile below them. Differently, corridor and secret tiles can be placed either on ground level, above ground level, or below ground level in the basement. Finally, downstairs tiles can only be placed below ground, not on ground or above ground level. If that seems like a lot to keep track of, don't worry, because each of these restrictions are explained here on your reference card. Let's go through each of these rooms effectively and quickly in order to understand the basic idea of what each of them are doing, starting with the food room. Food rooms always have an orientation that they care about. For example, this little white dot is showing the food room, and it's caring about both the room above and below it. Some food rooms care about the spaces to the left and right of it, or even to the 2 spaces below them instead. Food rooms can always only score a maximum of 4 points because they score 2 points per type of room that they care about in the orientation that they're looking at. There is also always a special bonus for when you place your third of each type of room. When you place your third food room, you'll draw the top 5 tiles of the extra tiles in one of the game trays. After doing so, choose one of these tiles to place into that same castle following all legal requirements, and then discard the other 4 out of the game permanently. The living room type always has a specific type of room that it wants to be surrounded by, or have a specific orientation by. Most living rooms, like this harp room here, can score a maximum of 8 points, because it's 1 point per that type of room that surrounds it. When you place your third food room, you'll choose one of the royal attendants of your choice to place within your throne room. Royal attendants stay within your throne room and care about specific requirements and give you extra points per that requirement that you have. For example, this knight gives you an extra victory point at the end of the game per swords icon that you have in your castle, just like the swords icon on the top right of this laboratory here. There is no limit to the amount of royal attendants that can be within your throne room because of all the living rooms you placed. Utility rooms care about what type of rooms they're connected to. They score 1 point per room that they're connected to. Rooms are connected if they can be traced back adjacently and orthogonally back to that room type. For this example, this is connected to 1, 2, 3 living rooms in a line like that. Because of the difficulty to achieve this, there's no maximum to the amount of victory points a utility room can score. As soon as you place your third utility room, immediately draw 3 bonus cards from the bonus card deck and choose to keep one of them, discarding the other 2 from the game. Bonus cards are specifically connected to whatever castle that drew it using its utility rooms. So if I place this in the castle, it would be worth 2 extra bonus points at the end of the game per this type of room, sleeping room, in that castle at the end. It's just essentially another secret objective way to score points. Outdoor rooms give a certain amount of victory points per different type of room in the castle. Like utility rooms, there is no maximum to the amount of victory points that they can give. So if there were 6 living rooms, this vineyard would be worth 6 points. There is a stipulation, however, with outdoor rooms. They have these blue borders, and anything with a blue border is considered open to the sky, which means that nothing can be placed above it. As soon as you place your third outdoor room, place a fountain found in the yellow game tray. You can place this anywhere in your castle and is worth a static 5 points. But remember, fountains are also considered open to the sky and cannot have anything placed above them. Sleeping rooms score a number of points if you have at least 6 other room types, at least 1 of each, in your castle. So if you had at least 1 of 6 different room types that don't include sleeping rooms in your castle, this servant's quarters would be worth 4 points. If you do not meet this requirement, you follow the point total on the right instead, so the servant's quarters would only be worth 1 point statically. As soon as you place your third sleeping room, grab a tower and place it in your castle. Like fountains, these are open to the sky and cannot have anything placed above them. However, unlike fountains, they don't have a static victory point total. Instead, they're worth 1 point per tile that is below them. So towers work best if they're as high up as possible. Corridor rooms care about the wall hangings that are placed surrounding them, very similar to those royal attendants. They can score a maximum of 8 points because they care about each of the 8 surrounding rooms and look at the top right corner of those rooms when determining what they care about. They can never score because of their own wall hanging, however. When you place your third corridor room, also place a grand foyer. It's a special type of room that scores 1 point per surrounding room. So a grand foyer statically isn't worth anything, but can score up to 8 points. This is the first type of room that we've seen without a blue border, so it can be placed anywhere in the castle. The next type of room is the downstairs room, and unsurprisingly, always give you 1 point per type of room above them directly. When you place your third downstairs room, choose any other type of third room bonus and do that instead. It's difficult to get multiple downstairs rooms, and you should be rewarded for it. Activity rooms score 1 point per room tile that surrounds it orthogonally. That means up, down, left, and right. However, it only scores 1 single point total if there's any of a type of room that it does not like surrounding it whatsoever. So if this flute room ever had a single outdoor tile surrounding it whatsoever, it would score 1 point instead of 1 point per orthogonally surrounding tile. As soon as you place your third activity room, draw 3 ballrooms from the purple tray and choose one of them to keep. Each of them have a different bonus on the bottom and care depending on how many rooms are in adjacent castles. These give you extra victory points, and the 2 that you do not choose are discarded away from the game. Place this in your castle now. Secret rooms are special, and the arrows in a secret room point a certain direction orthogonally. A secret room duplicates that adjacent room in every way. That means that it gains its room bonus, and you also place a room type token on that secret room to show what type of room that it is. They count in every way as that room type, including for bonuses. So if you played amidst the plants and it became a food room like this one here, it would count towards your 3 food rooms placed. The throne room is the final type of room and is special because it's the only room your castles start with. The throne room always have 2 specific types of rooms they care about and where they want them in orientation to themselves. If you complete this little task, your throne room can be worth up to 4 points, 2 points per other room placed. Once the second round is complete, each player will count the score using the included score pad for the castle on their left. Now, the only reason you're only doing the castle on your left is because the player on your right is doing the castle on their left. After that's complete from here on out, however, you're caring about both the score of the castle on your left and the castle on your right. Your final score is the lower score between 2 castles. So if the score on the castle on your left was 52, and the score on the castle on your right was 67, your score would be 52. Now, ties will be relatively prevalent because of this, and all tied players will determine the tiebreaker by looking at the higher of the 2 scores of the 2 castles that they've helped construct. The tied player recording the highest score of their 2 castles now wins. Now, if there's still a tie, all tied players will look at the amount of specialty rooms in the 2 castles that they've helped construct. The player who's built the most amount of specialty rooms will be the new winner. If there's still a tie after all of these methods, the players share the victory. Now, there is an entire automa, which is Stonemeier's way of saying a single-player version of this game, included for you to explore on your own if you'd like. There's also special rules for 2 players, which is possible and a lot of fun. However, you'll have to modify a few things, and I'll leave that for you to explore as well. If you have any questions at all about Between Two Castles, please leave those questions in the comments below. If you want to see a specific game taught by the channel, also let me know below as well. If you want to buy Between Two Castles Essential Edition for yourself, I'll leave that in the description for you to go to the Stonemaier website and purchase directly from them. Thanks again to Jamie Stegmaier and the rest of those at Stonemaier Games for making this great game and sending me one for review. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.